All right, welcome back to the Survive Scale Soar Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremy, and we have an amazing guest on our show today. I'd like to introduce Hawk Walts. Hawk's, it's going to be hard to go through all the things he does. I'm going to let him talk about it, but he's in the world of the theatrical and he's a stuntman. He's been on some movies like The Naked Gun, Superman, Bad Boys, Ride or Die. He's Rebel Moon. I love that. That was, I can't remember if that was on Prime, but great movie. Television, The Walking Dead, Loki, with Disney. Some really big productions. One of the favorite things that I saw that he was a part of was the music video "Son of the Dirty South" because I love Jelly Roll, and so I had to watch that again. And sure enough, there he is in the scene there right at the end of the bar, and that must have been an awesome experience. Missed him in a stage performance with Waterworld. I think he'd either just finished up that or maybe he was off that day. We went to Universal out in California, so we'll talk about some of those experiences. But welcome to the show, Hawk. How are you today?
I'm great, man. Thanks for having me.
And what's unique about our relationship is it goes back pretty far. We were both from San Marcos, Texas, and graduated high school together. And we've kept up through social media over the years, but this is the first time we've actually been able to talk. So I'm really excited about this conversation today. And the message is for small business owners and real estate agents. You may be thinking, well, why are we talking to Hawk? Well, I think there's going to be some things that come out in this conversation that are going to be very relevant to you running a successful small business. So, Hawk, let's start out. Let's go back to the high school days. We played in a very tough district. We were 1-9 like every year. We got destroyed. We played San Antonio 5A. Then they're like, oh, that's too hard. Let's move them to Austin 5A. There was that guy Drew Brees there in Austin Westlake. It was not easy. And you'd been acting even before that. So talk about that progression and how you got to that place in football where you're just like, okay, I'm gonna do something a little different here and pursue this.
Well, so going all the way back, first time I remember being on stage was about I was 12 years old, whatever year that was, and it was Babes in Arms, and it was a community theater production that actually took place at Lamar Stage Theater, our sixth grade school. Fast forward, I really love doing that. I've always kind of been a performer and did like puppet shows for friends in like grade school or kindergarten and preschool and all that stuff, and playing around with that. So somewhat always been a performer and enjoyed doing that. Football was, it's Texas. There's almost no way of getting out of football. You're doing football or baseball or one of the other, sports. I just ended up doing football. It was a lot of fun. For the 6 years, I believe, or 5 years that I remember playing, you said 1-9 every year. I remember very differently. I remember winning one game out of 50. So it was brutal. I actually had to take that back. I think we tied one game out of 50. We lost everything else. Um, once and there was a few things that went on with me stepping out of football and whatnot. It was my junior year. I think I still played, but my senior year was a whole different story. And I don't know if you remember it, at that time at San Marcos High School, there was a program called the 313 program.
Mhm.
And it was 3 years of high school, 1 year of high school and college classes, and then 3 years of college to a college degree. I was at the tip of the spear on that project. So they didn't really know exactly how things were going to work. And I kind of told them how I was going to make things work. So my junior year, actually, I needed to start taking a foreign language. And the options that we had at high school were Spanish, Russian, Spanish, German, and French. And I was like, well, none of those seem interesting to me. I want to learn Russian. College, Southwest Texas had a Russian program. So I was like, well, can I do that? Can I take foreign language at college? And the guidance counselor was like, yeah, I don't see any problem with it. So I did that junior year. I was still in, so I was college classes in the morning and then had lunch and then came and did afternoon classes at high school for that entire year. Senior year, all I had left to do was my second year foreign language, my English 4 and my history 4. Which I was like, well, tell me what English 4 and history 4 are. Well, it's this and all these other things. I was like, you know what? That really sounds a whole lot like English 101 and history 101 at the university. And they're like, well, yeah, it is. It's kind of like, well, why don't I just do that? And so my senior year of high school, I didn't drop out. I dropped up. I never really went there. I just had those extra credits or those final credits that I needed to take care of. But I went to the university, and my senior year of high school was my freshman year of college. And man, that was a great decision. I loved doing that. I had so much more fun at college than I did at high school. But it was just, and once I got to college, it was like, well, what do I want to do? And stepping back a little bit, long time ago, it was my kindergarten teacher in Hawaii. She was like, oh, well, draw a picture and kind of give a little brief paragraph of what you want to be when you grow up. So I was like, still, but 16, 17 years old, is like, I have no idea. I still wanted to do everything. The only way that my brain processed to do everything was like, well, I can be in movies. I want to do that. I want to work in movies. Because you can be a fireman, you can be a cop, you can be the villain, you can be an astronaut, you can do all the stuff. So when it came time to figure out what my major was, I did the only absolute responsible thing that someone in my position would do, and I've decided to be a theater major.
And Southwest Texas, now Texas State, has one of the best programs in the entire country.
They had a great program back in the day. Paige Bishop, Larry Hovis from Hogan's Heroes, TV show back in the '80s, and then we had he wasn't a full-time professor, but G.W. Bailey. G.W. Bailey, you kind of recognize him from the Police Academy movies. I don't remember the character's name, but he played the kind of the bad antagonist cop that was always against the good guys. But he would come in every once in a while. So we did have a decent amount of legitimate talent coming in and kind of sharing their information and their backgrounds and all the things that they had learned over the years with the students. And it was absolutely great opportunity and some of the best teaching I think I've gotten ever.
So you're there. What's the next step? Now you're doing huge things. What was that next step, and what drove that decision?
We're getting into a long story. I'll try to give you the cliff notes. So graduate college in 2000 with my Bachelor of Fine Arts in directing. I wanted to get a Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting, but unfortunately, in my opinion, I didn't. I wasn't a schmoozer as much as some of the other students were. So when I auditioned for the acting program, they denied me the acting program and said, "Oh, well, you can do it next year." I was like, "Dude, I'm on schedule to get out of here in 4 years. I got 20. I got because that was at the beginning of the year, and I was like, I got like 30 credits left or something like that." So yeah, no, I'm out. We're gonna do the directing route, and I really did enjoy the directing route. I think it fit me a lot better just because it was just one more aspect for me that I hadn't really dove into in the acting in theater. Theater, I've done acting. Everybody does acting in the theater program. Not everybody does directing, and so it teaches you how to break down the scripts and how to. You're reading over the same scripts time and time and time again. So anyway, graduate with BFA, no idea what to do next. End up going to KXAN in Austin, which is the news station. I just happened to walk in the front door and I was like, see if they had any job positions, and they did. There was for a floor crew. So that was, and again, I have no idea what to do. You're 20 years old, right out of college with zero, or not zero, but very, very little work skills and whatnot. So I ended up getting the job as floor crew. Floor crew, I ran for the morning show, which was about 5 a.m. to 7 a.m. I ran teleprompter. I ran the cameras, any one of the cameras. I did floor directing. Eventually, I got moved up to the audio board. So everything that you heard, all the music, the microphones, the live feeds, that was all going through the board and whatnot. And a lot of that was just to, in my mind's eye, it was like, okay, I got to start making connections. I got to start networking. I did manage to get on camera once. It was for, I think it was for a movie review show that we did at KXAN. And it was just kind of talking and stuff like that. And I think we did like a little sketch. And then I did a couple of voiceover for some commercials, which, getting paid $15 an hour, nowadays is kind of like, oh man, that was terrible. Or actually not even 15. I think it was getting paid like $8.25 an hour back then, and I wanted 15. But yeah, 8.25 an hour for unlimited use voiceover for a commercial. I'm just kind of like, yeah, nah, that's peanuts by now.
Yeah.
So I did that for about a year and a half. Kind of a lot of dead ends. Didn't know what to do. Fast forward, I get to another. News station up in Dallas, Fort Worth. I was at KI, which was the CBS affiliate. Started doing that. While I was working there, one of the guys that I worked with, I don't remember his name anymore, unfortunately. He had an extreme sport show. So he would go out on location and kind of do all these other fun little things. So I was like, all right, cool. And he came up to me and was like, yeah, man, I need a camera guy. Do you know how to use a shoulder mount? And I was like, I do. So he was like, okay, cool. Do you want to go out on location with me and do this thing? So I was like, yeah, absolutely. Let's go. And it was the end of the shift. And I think it was probably about 3 or 4 extra hours at the end of my day, which I was still getting paid for. But I was just helping him out. And I did that a few times. And one of the locations we ended up going to was PCW in Arlington. And PCW was Professional Championship Wrestling. It was a little wrestling ring. Fast forward, talked to one of the guys there, one of the actual show runners, running the cameras and the sound and all that stuff. And he was like, hey, man, we're actually short a camera operator this weekend. Would you be interested in doing it? We can't pay you anything, but you basically get to be ringside watching a free wrestling show. So I was like, all right, cool.
Great deal. Yeah, it's wrestling.
Yeah, it's wrestling. So I was like, all right, that sounds fun. Started doing that somewhat on a semi-regular basis. And then one of the other guys named Jake, he was a camera guy. One day just before summer, I'm talking to him. He's like, "Yeah, man, I'm really nervous." And I was like, "What's going on?" He's like, "Oh, I got an audition for a stunt show that I was in last year." And I was like, "What's that?" And he was like, "It's basically full contact acting." I was like, I can do both of those things. And he was like, do you know how to ride a horse? I was like, a matter of fact, I do know how to ride a horse. He's like, oh, that's awesome, man. You ought to come by and audition for it. So I was like, all right, that's cool. So I went home. I kind of put together like a little headshot resume thing, which was nothing back then. And I go to Six Flags and I get there exactly on time. Now, everybody else I get there a little bit early, but I get there exactly on time. Everybody else had already been in the show that was already auditioning for it. I basically had just gotten the inside information that they're doing auditions again, which they legally have to do to be like, we're giving people opportunity. But if you don't let people know about it, with the exception of the people that do know about it, then it's a bit of a loophole. Disney did that quite a bit with some of their shows. So I get there and I'm in the theater and there was nobody there. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I just left my headshot and resume at the very front where it could be seen. I wrote a hand note. I was like, hey, I got here at like at 3 p.m. or whatever the time was. I looked around everywhere and I couldn't see anybody. I hope I didn't miss you guys. Here's my headshot and resume. I'd love to audition or talk to somebody if possible. Didn't hear anything for maybe about 2, 3 days. And then Robert Keith, who was the coordinator and showrunner of Outlaws, Rangers and Outlaws at Six Flags over Texas, calls me up and he was like, "Oh yeah, I got your stuff. We're so sorry we missed you. We like," and he told me kind of what happens. Like everybody, I already knew everybody was there, and I wasn't really expecting anybody else to show up. But because you missed the initial audition, you're more than welcome to come to the callbacks. We just kind of want to see how you can move and do all this other stuff. So went to the callbacks. It was basic stage combat type stuff and saying lines and can you present yourself on stage in front of some audience. Ended up getting in the show, and that was summer 2003. Finished that. Fast forward January of 2004, ended up moving out to Vegas. Um, Relied on my stagehand skills and my camera skills that I'd learned at the news stations to progress and get jobs in Vegas at casinos and doing concerts and conventions, things like that. And then one of my buddies named Jeremy Stein. No, you don't know Jeremy Stein. Jeremy Stein did not go to our school.
No.
Jeremy Stein, yeah, I lose track of where everybody's from. So anyway, so Jeremy Stein was from Allen, Texas, but he was one of my buddies from the stunt show in Texas. And out of the blue one day, I'm in Vegas and I just call him up and I was like, "Hey man, how's everything going?" And he's like, "Oh dude, I have no idea what to do." Me and my other roommate, Scott, our third roommate just left for Texas and we didn't know about this. And we didn't like he got up, packed his stuff, like just packed a backpack, got in his truck and headed off to Texas like 3 a.m. And they didn't find out until like I think like 9 a.m. And they called him up. It's like, "Where you at?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm in New Mexico." He's like, "You're supposed to be at work, man." So he was kind of freaking out. He was like, "Oh, I don't know what to do," and I was like, "Cool. Can you hold out for 1 month?" And he was like, "Yeah, I can hold out." So I got everything wrapped up in Vegas, moved out to Studio City, California, which is essentially North Hollywood. There's a lot of places, but there's North Hollywood, Toluca Lake, Studio City, all those places. So I was in the valley, in the very north side or very close side of the valley, close to the 101 and what is that? Is that the 5? No. There's
Through there. Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it's really close to the 101 and Universal Studios essentially. And then I was doing stagehand work out there just because that was what was available, and I had made the contacts in Vegas to be able to kind of somewhat seamlessly step into work out in LA. And then shortly after that, Jeremy in March of 2005, I believe, was when was that? Let's see, 2003. To March of 2006. He started, honestly, I can't remember the year. Anyway, so March, he auditions to get into Knott's Berry Farm. And like he goes in and gets the job, and I was like, "Oh, that's awesome. That's cool." And then he was like telling me all the stories about it and how fun it was. And I was like, man, kind of had like the little bit of jealousy. I was like, it sucks. Then he comes back one day and he tells me, "Oh yeah, they're having auditions for the start of the summer season, which was Memorial Day." So I was like, "Oh, great." So I went in, auditioned, and immediately got the job at Knott's Berry Farm. Fast forward, I'm at Knott's Berry Farm for a few years. In 2008, I auditioned for Disney to do the Indiana Jones and the Summer of Hidden Mysteries, which was a special 1 year event through Adventureland. And then I also auditioned that year and got into Waterworld. And Waterworld was the absolute biggest stepping stone. That was where the networking really began. Within, because I'd been trying at that point, I've been trying for about 10 years to get my SAG card. In order to get a SAG card, you need 3 vouchers, which basically you work as a non-union member on a union film. Uh, and then you kind of have to be nice and schmooze your way into the good graces of a production assistant or somebody that has the authority to essentially say that, you know what, this guy's good. We're going to give him a voucher. You get 3 vouchers within 3 years. You can join SAG. It sounds so simple. Part of the problem was I would get a voucher and then I wouldn't do anything, and then I'd get a voucher and wouldn't do anything. And by the time I got my 3rd voucher, my first one was
You ran out of time. Yeah.
time. So Disney, I was in AGVA, which is American Guild of Variety Artists. So I was set. I was good. I was going to get my SAG card because I was a principal character in a union show to a sister union of SAG. With Waterworld, I was actually able to jump ahead a little bit faster. I didn't have to wait the full year because I did manage to get 3 vouchers within about 2 months' time. Finally, and the second I got my 3rd voucher in the mail, I was in my truck heading down to SAG-AFTRA office, and I put down my money. I was like, I'm done. I don't want to lose anything, and so paid my dues and became a card carrying member.
Yeah, I want to stop you there for a second, and we're going to keep going with the story. There's a couple things I picked out there. Networking, and if you're a small business owner, whether it's your networking for your clients or your networking with vendor partners or whoever it may be, it's critical. In this world, there is a lot to who you know and making those connections. And I heard a lot of that through your story, just jumping place to place. It's you met people and they knew people, and it worked out. The other thing was persistence.
Oh yeah.
And you have this big goal to get the SAG card, but you're getting knocked down again and knocked down again, but you still went after it. And that's the life of a small business person, an entrepreneur that's going out and building a business. Is you're going to get knocked down a lot.
Yeah.
Where the results are going to come is how you react to that. Do you get back up and keep going, or do you succumb to it and then eventually you're out of business? And I heard that persistence in your story. You kept going, then all of a sudden it happens, and it happens fast. All right, keep going with your story. Great story.
So I finally get my SAG card, and again with Waterworld. So at that point, Waterworld opened, I believe, it was October 21st, 1995. And this was, I got into Waterworld in May of, actually, technically, I think like April of 2008. So what is that? That's 13 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's 13 years. So by then, 13 years for a stunt show is a long time. And Waterworld actually is next year will be its 30th anniversary, that's ancient. That is so mind blowing. The only things that existed before that were like the Wild West stunt shows from like Knott's Berry Farm, Six Flags, a lot of the smaller places. But 12 years is a long enough time for there to be a significant number of people that have gone through there that have advanced their own careers and proceeded to on to bigger and better things. So yeah, it's networking, and you meet people in the show that have been there for a few years. You're a rookie, they're veterans. They introduce you to their friends. Their friends become your friends, and then it starts adding up. And then long story long. That's not the end of the road, but that was the first big step to accomplish to getting to where I want to be. And stunts has always been, I love doing stunts. It's so much fun. It's a blast. but it is a means to an end for me. Ultimately, you can't do stunts forever. Uh, Body just doesn't want to hit the ground at a certain point. Uh, and or when you do hit the ground, you get up slower and slower. My goal has always been to get into acting and doing that, and progressively I have been getting more acting roles. Uh, Fortunately and unfortunately, I'm a big guy. I don't look like very many people in Hollywood. A lot of people say I look a lot like Stone Cold Steve Austin. I was like, that's awesome. I'm like 3 inches taller than he is, and he's probably about 60 pounds lighter than I am. I was like, I'd love to play his like big little brother or something like that, but I don't. Uh, the people that work a lot in Hollywood are the 5 foot nothing, 100 and nothing, brown hair, brown eyes. They can step into every single role, no problem. And they are so, and it's not a bad thing. It's like I say 100 nothing, 5 nothing, but they're so nondescript in their appearance that I literally had friends. I think the movie was Losers.
Mhm.
Um, uh, 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 Jeffrey Dean Morgan. I can't remember exactly when that came out, but if I remember right, there was like 7 or 10 stunt guys for that entire movie, and they would get shot, and then they would fall down, and then they would run around and get shot up here, and they'd fall down, and they'd go over here, they get shot and fall down, then they run over here, they set on fire, and they run away. So they're constantly working, just everything. But it worked because you're like, oh well, it's a faceless thug that nobody can see. They're all in the SWAT armor and whatnot.
Can't
But
hide Hawk.
you put somebody like me in SWAT armor, it's kind of like, wait a second, how many big guys do they have on this one team? So yeah, I mean, the persistence is definitely a big thing, and there's a little bit of it's you got to kind of be crazy doing it, because you get told no all the time, just constantly. And I don't know if it's like maybe it's the part of that stunt mentality of just kind of like, yeah, you're gonna get told no, it's gonna hurt, but you got to get up and do it again, and it's still gonna hurt, and you got to get up and do it again, and eventually you're kind of like, oh, hey, that wasn't that bad. So,
I talk a lot about this with my coaching clients. The word no and next, right?
yeah,
And does no? Do you find the word no when you're told no? Does that fuel you? Is it like I'm gonna keep going. I'm gonna do it again. I'm gonna show
I,
you.
it does, because as as a stunt person, as an actor, as someone that's on film, you are very much a salesperson for yourself. You're selling yourself. And as personal as it is to be told, no, we don't want you, it is also, you got to look at it like a business, kind of like, okay, you don't want me. There's something, it's not anything that I did. It's that I'm just not good for the role. I'm not going to play a Wall Street banker. I don't generally look like one of those, or, I'm not going to play, I'm going to play like the convict or the thug or the prison guard or the biker. Get that one. I'm probably got 12 credits on my resume of biker. Um, so it's not really a letdown to be told no. It's just kind of like, all right, cool, all right, I just wasn't right for it. Moving on.
You think that's a mindset though? Like you've got to have that mindset, or it's going to be really tough to go that path.
You absolutely have to have that mindset. Uh, you inevitably you are going to fall into that. You're being told no so often. They're just like, what the hell is wrong with me? I can't get any work. So the self-doubt inevitably will set in a little bit, but as long as you just keep going to it with it, you're going to get that yes. And when you get that yes, that takes back 1,000 no's, and you're like, finally, I can do what I need to do, what I'm meant to do, and I can showcase my talents. And if you've been preparing for it, which at that point, if you've been told no 1,000 times, you've done 1,000 different types of jobs that you've gotten told no on, you're developing your skills. It may not be in the right direction. You may make, pitfalls here and there, but eventually you're just going to be like, nope, I got told no, that didn't work. So let's try something a little different. And I've done that. I've had auditions where they gave, like, I got the audition, I got the script, and I came up with the character in my head. And I did the whole audition with the character in my head, the way I thought it was going to be. And I get there on the day for the audition, and they're like, "All right, well, we want you to do D, E, F, and G." And I was like, "Well, I didn't. Okay." And I did it as best as I could. And before I ended up doing the audition with the way they wanted to, I did the audition the way they wanted to begin with. And they were like, okay, cool. Thank you very much. And I was like, actually, before I go, I did come up with this because I didn't have any notes beforehand. I came up with somewhat of a completely different character. Would you mind if I showed you? Not all the time you're going to get that opportunity, but they were receptive to it. And I did my version of what I thought the character was. And I'm like, okay, that's an interesting take on it. That's not what we're looking for. But thank you so much. And so I was like, all right, cool. That's all I could ask for was the opportunity to showcase what I was able to do and what I had come up with on my own. And again, it's not personal. It's just not what they were looking for. To be fair, on the opposite end of that spectrum, this recently, I just did a. Did I put that? I don't remember if I put it in my resume yet. So I just recently did an acting role on a show called Chad Powers. It's going to be coming out on Hulu in the next year or so. When I auditioned for it, the audition was I felt bad about it. Like I wasn't clicking. I hated it. I tried it. I ended up sending in the first 2 takes, which were the best of the 8 or 9 takes that I ended up shooting. But I just was stumbling over words and nothing felt right about it. I was kind of like, at 9 takes, I was like, I give up. The first 2 were good enough. Let's send those in. I get the job. On the day, I'm talking to the writer, and he was like, "Man, you were great. I loved your audition." Yeah, like I wrote the character down, and like I saw you, and you did the part, and I was like, this is the guy that I wrote it for." And I was like, "Okay, that's great." So you never really know, like even on your worst days, you don't really know what somebody else is looking for. So there's you can't really beat yourself up.
Yeah,
you're,
but
you're
I heard in there like you put in the reps, right? So in doing the reps, you're developing the skills that's going to only help you in the next opportunity. And
yeah,
then I heard persistence again. It's like, hey, I had a different character in mind. Let me run with it. And they could have said no. They could have been like, no, we're good.
yeah.
Yeah, you never know where that hits or lands or creates another opportunity down the road. But if you don't take, it's like going to bat, not taking a swing. If you don't take the swing, you're not ever going to hit the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah, and so preparation. I want to talk a little bit about that because I was going through looking at your resume. It's like scuba diver, motorcycle driver, karate, kung fu. I don't know. There's a bunch of different things in there, and it was to me, it's amazing. But it all fits into your roles. Like talk about what you need to do to prepare to go in to do some of the roles that you do.
Well, I mean, the karate nowadays is I have it on there just because it's good to reflect discipline. But I again, I'm not doing the high kicks. I'm not doing the backflips. Most of the jobs that I do as a stuntman are fighting, they're brawling. So it's the old fashioned John Wayne Western. You pick up the guy, you throw him through the bar table, somebody breaks a bottle over your head, you get knocked down, break up the chair, that kind of stuff. So it's the big movements, the big, very much dancing movements. So there's the repetition that's involved with that aspect of it. But it's just there's a lot of those things. Like I ride a motorcycle because I love it. I've been riding a motorcycle for 30 years. not a lot of people do that. And it's something that somebody looks at and kind of like, oh, it's it's less, there is a preparation to it, but there's also a lot of do things that you enjoy. I did the martial arts because I was interested in it. That was for me. That was when I was a kid. I did horseback riding because I was interested in it. I rode motorcycles because I love bikes, snowboarding, skiing, scuba diving, all that stuff. But and again, you get to a point, especially with the TV and film, where all of these stupid little mundane things and hobbies, you're like, nobody cares about that. They're all of a sudden they mean something.
Mhm.
So people are, they look at it and go, oh, you know how to ride a motorcycle? It's like, yeah. And specifically a Harley Davidson. A lot of people are kind of like, it's a big bike. A lot of people are kind of like, okay, anybody can jump on, well, anybody can jump on a Honda 600 and ride down the street. Not everybody's going to jump on a 1300 or 1300 pound motorcycle and be able to handle it relatively well. So it's these little things, and some things work, some things don't. I've got mime on there. I think it was one of the training things I've done. Mime again has worked for me. That was actually an elective class at Southwest Texas that I took, and I was like, oh, it sounds fun. And there's little things that you learn in mime that it creates just some distance between you and somebody else. One of the prime examples I can think about, one of my buddies, Carlos Ragas, he was a circus clown, actually a circus clown for Barnum and Bailey. Um, he mentioned something that's kind of like, oh, you have the rose trick, and some people's like, oh, here's a rose, and you hold out the rose, uh, versus like, here's a rose, and you hold the rose stationary and you step back from it. And instead of handing the rose to somebody and then holding the rose stationary and stepping back from it and extending your arm as a presentation to it, now makes the rose a thing. And it's just one of those subtle little sight differences that you're kind of like, oh, this is special. Something is about this is special, as opposed to a gift. It's like, this is a very special gift. Um, so again, it's everyday experiences that you're taking up, and you're constantly learning, and you're constantly taking in information. I'm sure you've seen stuff like you're driving around, or you go to the grocery market and you see something, and you're like, all something clicks just at that second. You're like, that's a great idea. Why didn't I think about it? And you immediately try to implement it, and you find out, hey, that idea works, and you're like, I'm going to do that from now on. So yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things too that the people don't see. There's that iceberg imagery where they Hawk Walts, they see him above the water, they see him all these things he's accomplished and in the the accolades, and but they don't see all the work beneath.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And it's all those years, and like you said, it's a lot of it's hobbies, a lot of it's fun stuff, some of it's hard stuff. Have you ever injured yourself? I'm guessing you have as a stuntman.
I fortunately I've been pretty good. The surprisingly the worst injury I had was at Knott's Berry Farm. And I was standing towards the audience, and it was a simple turn and a push off with my foot, and I tore my calf muscle. And it was so bad that my leg basically turned purple from the knee down. There was it was quite a bit of internal bleeding, and that was a very inconvenient time because I tore my calf muscle, barely walk. 2 days later, or actually the next day, I moved my house by myself from Huntington Beach to Woodland Hills. The day after that, I had the audition for Waterworld. The day after that, I had a 12-hour audition for Disney. The day after that, I had my callbacks for Waterworld. And then the day after that, I was back at Knott's Berry Farm. So I was just like, this is terrible. Like, this is the most inopportune time to get hurt. But I mean, you just got to push through it and whatnot. Um, Most everything else, I've been. You get cuts and bruises and little things like that. Again, I've been very fortunate to not receive any major injuries, no broken bones or anything like that. Um, you're gonna get the wind knocked out of you every once in a while. I did a gag on Rebel Moon that was it was a deadfall. So if you've seen Rebel Moon, the character I believe his name was Dash Thiff. It was the kind of big, ugly, boily looking alien that was in the saloon that was talking to the guy that was with the girl. I can't remember the characters' names. But he was kind of like, making advances towards the guy and getting rejected. Well, spoiler, he ends up he ends up getting shot. And it was a deadfall, and I just had to take the reaction to the head and land flat on my back legs, straight to basically a wooden floor. Um, that was a probably about 15 pounds of prosthetics on my head. That was a full headpiece with 8 pieces individual all over it. And the first time I did it, there was just this burning sensation all right through my right side of my neck. I had pulled something, muscle, stretched out a ligament, something like that. But man, did it hurt. And of course, the next thing was like, "Hey, that was great. Can you do it again?" I was like, "Ha,
Yeah, we need to get another take on that.
can we do it now before this thing really starts hurting?" And I did it again. I think I calmed down for maybe about 5 minutes while they did a reset of like lights and angles and things. And I ended up doing it again, and it not nearly as bad, but it still definitely hurt. And then that was also kind of like, I'm glad I don't have to do that anymore. That was my last stunt, fortunately. Um, but yeah, those were the two main injuries that I've had. And when I did that to my neck, I was like, I really had a hard time turning to the right for probably about 2-3 months. Just massaging it, putting icy hot on it and everything, and trying to loosen everything up. But yeah, I mean, it's inevitable. You're gonna get hurt doing it. You gotta know that's gonna happen, and somewhat talk yourself into forgetting how hard the floor is.
Right.
Every
Yeah, it's gonna be soft. It's gonna be soft. It's gonna be soft.
I was working on Mike and Molly, and I doubled Billy Gardell for Mike and Molly, and he slips on like a wet bathroom floor, and he does the Home Alone Marv hit where both feet are up in the air. You see the back, you see nothing but 3 feet of air, and then just straight to the deck. And I was sitting there, I was kind of like looking at the floor, and it's a wooden floor. It's on a sound stage. I was hyping myself up. My coordinator was there. And I was like, okay, it's good. It's a wooden floor. That's great. I can work with wood. At least it's not concrete. And there's this lady, and she was so precious. But she really rained on my parade at that point. She's like, "Oh no, this thing's really solid. We drive full load buses on here all the time. It's as strong as concrete." I'm like, "Thanks."
Back to mindset. Yeah.
Great.
That's awesome. What is the coolest gig you've gotten?
Ah, man, I'd say it's a good toss up between um the so so if I have to decide, I loved working with Tom Hiddleston on Loki. That was great experience. He's absolute just gem of a human being, just wonderful gentleman. And I love doing that. As for something that was truly unique and interesting, and I love doing it. I really love doing the motion capture for the Incredible Hulk on the Avengers video game. So you go into a room, you're wearing that, that the bunny suit with all the balls all over it and reflectors. There's hundreds of cameras all trained around this studio, um, picking up all your movements and everything. And that's it. There's really not any scenery. There's not anything to work off of. So you're using your imagination the entire time. And one of the things that was wonderful about it was, being there for the first time. You're looking at it, going like, "Oh man, I feel so weird doing this. I feel kind of like an idiot." And then you're looking around at all of the other people that are dressed you hear me?
Yeah, I got you now. Yeah, I lost you there.
What happened here?
Let's see.
Gotta do this the other way. Turn around. Nope. Okay. There
There
we
it is.
go. There we
Okay.
go. Okay.
All right. So we'll go back to let's see. Let's start talking about the experience with the video game.
Uh, so basically you get in there and you're wearing the suit. You walk into the room. It's a giant room, mostly white, very well lit. You can see everything because the purpose of being in there is so that the light reflects off of the balls on the suit. And is translated into the computer as movement and all this other stuff. So you get in there, you're kind of feeling silly because you're essentially in pajamas with the reflective balls all over you. You've got these you've either got a goofy beanie hat on that's got balls on it too, or you've got a full helmet headgear that has two cameras on it. So there's a camera that's almost right in front of you and the camera that's just slightly below shooting up. And that's to get 2 points of reference on your face for all the movements. You've got dots all over your face. So you feel very strange running around, reacting to nothing. I mean, I've again, theater. I had plenty of practice doing that with improv and some of the shows that we did. Daryl Fleming with high school drama teacher. We did the UIL one act plays where it's a very minimal set, and you've got to react to the set because you've got essentially something that resembles a 2x4, and that's got to be a tree. So there's your tree. All right. Um, so you're running around in the volume, and you feel silly, and you kind of like take a step back, and you look around, and you see all these other people that are highly professional, and they're all kind of look silly too, and you get over it almost immediately. It's just kind of like, well, this is my reality now, and it's actually kind of fun, and so if everybody feels silly, then I don't mind feeling silly as well. And we had Troy Baker and Nolan North, both just absolute giants in the voiceover community. Travis Willingham, and Nolan was playing Iron Man. And for him to fly, he's got to do the Iron Man pose with his hands off to the side because he's got the repulsors on his hands. But he's not doing anything. So he just kind of puts his hands down to his side, stiffens up like a pencil, and just kind of tiptoes around stage like he's floating. And you're just kind of like, this is hilarious. But it's a
Yeah.
serious thing. You can't laugh at this.
Yeah, but that's pretty cool to be able to do that and be a part of that and then see the outcome of it, right?
It was a lot of fun. And a fun little story about that one was I didn't know what I was doing until I get there. So I had a buddy who put something on Facebook. I sent him stuff. He sent my stuff to the producer that was running it. Producer contacts me. I sign the NDA. He sends me, tells me a little bit about the details, kind of like, oh, you're basically, so you're going to be like the Hulk character. And I was like, okay, cool, like an ogre. Because did not register at all. And this was probably about 2 weeks, or two to 3 weeks of going back and forth and just kind of like, all right, yeah, I'm going to be part of a video game. It sounds fun. I get there on the day. Another one of the producers comes out and one of the I guess assistant directors, and he's telling me I'm filling out the final paperwork, and he's kind of like, yeah, blah blah blah. And I'm like, so I'm signing it and kind of listening. I was like, do you know anything about it? I was like, I kind of a little bit. It's like, so basically, like you're the Hulk character, and I was like, oh, okay. And I was at that point, I was like, that's weird. This is the second time somebody said that specific word. Still didn't click. And they hand me the script, and I finished filling out my paperwork. I'm talking to people, no idea who any of these people are. I know who they are, but I didn't know what they looked like. And finish my coffee, and we go in for the table read. I'm like, okay, cool. I'm the Hulk, whatever. Sit down, and I look at the script. And I was like, okay, Captain America, Black Widow, Thor, and I'm like, oh, I'm the Hulk. Oh no.
Marvel.
Yeah, it was like almost immediate kind of imposter syndrome, just kind of like, I'm in the wrong room. They don't know I'm a fraud. Because all of them had, I mean, again, you're looking at Nolan North and Troy Baker, um, who are just, hundreds of credits under their name, and they've done this for years and years, and they've perfected their craft. And then there's me, who's kind of like, I work at a theme park. So, um, I got over it real quick. I finished the first session, which was a Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So Wednesday you go in, you rehearse everything. Thursday and Friday you shoot what you rehearsed over on Wednesday. And so I was done. Friday rolled around. We were coming to an end of it, and again had no idea the scale of what I was involved in. And I'm talking to Nolan North, and I was like, "Hey man, it was great working with you, great meeting you." And he was like, "What are you talking about?" And I was like, "I was only scheduled to work this week." And he was like, "No, we've got at least another 9 months of this." And I was like, "Oh, oh wow." And I ended up working, I think, a total of 12 sessions on that film, on that game. And I did all of the cinematic motion capture. So all the cut scenes, everything like that, that was all me. And then of course they used Darren DePaul as the voice to step in and actually do the voice of Hulk. He's been doing the voice for years. So I was a little bummed about that, but at the same time I was like, I don't have the voice. He does. He's perfected it. So but yeah, that was probably one of my favorite jobs that I've worked. Just at It reminded me so much of the roots of doing the black box theater, and the improvisation, and having nothing to work with, but still everything was imagination, and getting to kind of play again like a kid. You got to imagine. It's like, oh yeah, there's the helicarrier is up in the sky and it explodes, and you've got to imagine that. It's kind of like, I was like, oh no. It's like, am I mad about it? And so, and we also, it was Sean Escahy was the director of it. And he was a great director to lead everybody into getting exactly what he wanted for the game, for the cinematics. So, I mean, I played the game. It was a lot of fun. Of course, I'm biased. I'm kind of, the Hulk scenes are the best.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Everybody else sucked. Mine was the best role. Yeah, that's awesome. Love that. Yeah, and I want to thank you. But before we jump off the podcast episode, I want you to just to be able to share 30 seconds to a minute of maybe some sort of life lesson through your journey that if you shared it today, maybe somebody that's listening, it hits them and maybe changes the trajectory of their life.
Um, Persistence. Don't quit. One of the best analogies I've gotten, and we talked about it, was Harrison Ford. Back in the day, Harrison Ford got out to Hollywood, and I think at some point somebody asked him, was like, what made you so successful? Why are you so successful? And he was like, everybody else got back on the bus. He was the one that stayed. He stuck it out. And it's time. You've got to take the time to cultivate your resources, to make the connections, to network. The more people you know, the more connections you get. And then on top of that, you got to stay on top of those connections. You got to talk to them. You got to call them up and communicate with these people, because you never know when you might get a job out of that, because it's like, oh well, I need somebody to. For me personally, it was one instance was I made friends with a costumer on a different show. I don't remember what show it was. This was towards the beginning, but I ended up, if I remember right, I think it was Death Factory, maybe, but they were looking for another guy. Because the first guy that they had dropped out and they needed another big guy. And she actually put my name in reference for that role. And I go in, I try on the costume, and I was like, yeah, it fits. And they're like, it's yours. And we hope you know what to do. And it was like, dude, I won't let you down. So you really never know where those connections are going to lead, where they're going to take you. Uh, and not giving up, not getting having any kind of despair of not getting anywhere, just sitting in the mud, spinning your wheels. Eventually the mud's going to dry up and you'll get some traction and you'll move forward. Maybe not a lot, but you're going to get there.
I love that. Persistence and network. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally goes over to a small business owner. We have those conversations, it seems like daily. And so I appreciate you sharing that. If somebody's listening in today and they're like, hey, this Hawk guy's pretty cool, I want to follow him. How do they connect with you, or how do they follow you?
Instagram, Twitter. Yeah, I guess it's still Twitter. And what's the other one? TikTok. I'm Hawk Walts on Facebook, but everything else is Blitzkrieg Hawk, BlitzKriegHawx, because somebody took my name before I took it, and they actually spelled it Hawk. I was like, all right. So
Yeah, I don't know too many hawks out there. So
for a Blitzkrieg Hawk, I wouldn't think that would be so popular, but apparently it was popular enough for somebody to grab it before I could. So I was like, you know what, Hawx, there we go, done. Yeah. So Twitter, Instagram, mostly on Instagram and Facebook nowadays. But Blitzkrieg Hawk, you can find me there.
awesome. Well, Hawk, thanks for being on the show today, and really enjoyed our conversation. And I think there's a lot of lessons. There's a ton of lessons in there, a lot of life lessons too. And I appreciate you sharing your story, and congratulations on your accomplishments and those that are coming.
Thank you very much. I'm very happy to be part of the podcast. And again, thank you very much for having me, man. It's been a pleasure.